Good evening, everyone. Welcome to 49ers After Dark. That's Jessie Naylor. I'm Grant Cohn. We're going to be talking about Tom Brady a little bit today because Kyle Shanahan wanted to get him this offseason, which really wasn't that crazy in retrospect, but now it's kind of freaking amazing. But first, we need to talk about what these Packers are saying. These Packers getting real loose with the media. Could you tell the people what Devontae Wyatt said about Brock Purdy? Because I can't even. I'm so upset. I'm like Rob Guerrero right now. I'm so upset at what Devontae. What do you say?
You know he was losing his mind when he saw that one. Shout out to Rob, man. Rob's like a character in real life. He's just so animated and so passionate. You gotta love what Stats brings to the game. So shout out to Stats. But I'll read exactly what Devontae Wyatt said. He said,
Okay.
When D linemen just get pressure into him, he's always throwing off or it's behind, overthrown or short. When you get pressure on him, it's a guarantee we'll get a turnover. Basically calling his shot, saying we'll get a turnover if we can pressure Brock Purdy. I find that interesting. And I think that there is maybe some truth to that. I think all quarterbacks, when they're pressured, there can be issues. But when you look at Brock Purdy under pressure, he is the best quarterback in the league, according to advanced statistics. Here's the difference, though. And what it sounds like he's talking about is he said specifically linemen, which to me means he sees if we can get pressure with 4, we're good. He didn't talk about blitzing. He didn't talk about sending extra players. He's saying getting home with 4. And I think that there are a couple games where there are examples of that. And those 2 games would have been Cleveland and they would have been Baltimore.
Yeah.
If you can get home with 4 and you can play either a zone coverage behind that or preferably man, you are in a much better spot. But if you have to start sending extra rushers, if you cannot get home, and it's easier said than done, not because the offensive line is great, but because Brock Purdy does a fantastic job getting rid of the ball very quickly. If you have to start sending extra people to get home on him, he will pick you apart, and that's a mistake. So I'm curious to see what they believe they found on film to where they can get home with 4 all of a sudden. I want to see that happen.
Look, Devontae Wyatt, bless your heart. I'm surprised he said this on the record, but I'm not mad at it. I wish more football players would be this candid. I'm looking at Devontae Wyatt. He's 25. He is in his second season in the NFL. So I'm guessing this isn't something he just discovered on film independently and just went to the press with. No disrespect. I'm guessing this is something his defensive coordinator or his head coach or both said in a team meeting. And so this is probably how the Packers look at Brock Purdy. He's small. He's not as gifted physically. He's not as big. He's not as gifted as Jordan Love. Let's prove it. Let's show the difference. Let's pressure him. He's never under pressure. It always looks so easy for him. Okay. Well, I think the Niners feel the same way about Jordan Love. First of all, like I asked Nick Bosa, like, what's the key to stopping him? And he said, I don't think many teams have made him uncomfortable yet. So like, that's a nice way of saying the same thing. Like it's also easy for him. He gets to hand the ball off and do play action, get a lot of space and have a lot of time. And I think they feel the same way about each other. The one thing about what Devontae Wyatt is saying is like easier said than done. And maybe for both teams, because you can't just keep Brock Purdy. It's not as simple as just keeping him in the pocket and then knocking him off his spot. He's one of the more elusive, I'm not going to say more mobile quarterbacks in the league. He doesn't run that much, but he's so hard to keep in the pocket. He's hard to sack. He extends plays. And so does Jordan Love. So it's going to be interesting to see how these teams do pressuring these quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the key to any quarterback is to pressure them. And that's all the greats throughout history. If you can pressure them and do it with 4 specifically, your job is a lot easier. I mean, that's what defensive linemen are paid to do.
But real quick, do you want to knock him off his spot or do you want to contain him in the pocket? That's like 2 different things.
Those are 2 different things. I agree.
I want to contain him.
Yes.
I want to contain him.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
What I love about Bosa and his interviews every week is he will tell you exactly what the team thinks of that quarterback. Him and Shanahan, they're both honest to a fault. And when you hear them talk, they're going to tell you what they think. And to me, it sounds like they think Jordan Love's pretty good, or at least is playing pretty good. We'll see. They're probably not intimidated by any means, but they definitely have a healthy respect for him. It almost seems like, because this is not the first thing, I don't have the other quote that I saw earlier this week, but it almost seems like the Packers have a bit of a disrespect for Purdy. And maybe that's just me as a fan looking like,
Sounds like it from
talking,
what
whatever.
Devontae Wyatt said.
But it sounds pretty disrespectful. And
Yeah.
and I think this late in the season to be that arrogant when it comes to Brock Purdy, as if he is no good, I think that will come back to bite them. Now, maybe if you're an elite defense like the Ravens or something like that, especially since you've already done it, okay, maybe you can be a little bit arrogant, but they don't have the players to get this done, in my opinion. It's all great to have a game plan and think you have some sort of magic elixir that's going to win you this game, but it's another to have the players and be able to execute it. I don't believe that the Packers have the defensive players or play caller to get this done.
And it does seem kind of like the Packers, after what you read from after what you read from Devontae Wyatt, it seems like the Packers' attitude is Brock Purdy isn't good.
Yeah.
I mean, what he said made it seem like Brock Purdy's a fraud. Where the Niners are saying Jordan Love is good. Our guy's just better, which is sort of how they have to feel. And frankly, the statistics back it up. But yeah, it's really strange to say it. Yeah, sure. He's a smaller quarterback. He doesn't have the strongest arm. If you can sort of constrict him in that pocket and make him throw around bigger bodies, it could go well for you. But that's so much easier said than done. And if the Packers do it, salute. That is what you have to do. I'd like to see you guys keep that little sucker in the pocket, man. It's not easy. He is so slippery. Pause. I'm sorry. He is. He is really, really elusive. So
he really
good luck.
is.
You got to keep him in the pocket, constrict it. You don't even have to sack Brock Purdy. To his point, pressure him. Keep him in one spot, pressure him. He's small. I haven't seen many teams pull that off.
Well, and when CMC's there, I mean, you've got a check down option that is open all the time. Outside of the Ravens game, he's open all the time. So great. Who's going to cover CMC and take that safety blanket away from him? Because if it's not there, he knows exactly where CMC is at, and he will find him, and he will make sure that he lives to play another down. So, yeah, you're right. Easier said than done.
Do you think the 49ers were in English? Let me try it again. Do you think the 49ers will start slow offensively off the bye, considering Brock Purdy hasn't played a game in a couple of weeks? Since 2023, he hasn't played since 2023.
That was last year. That's
it was last year. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I guess I didn't really think about it like that. Then yes. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't. I don't think that they're going to start off slow at all. What I look at is this offseason. And we didn't know if Brock Purdy was going to be able to play week 1 initially. Obviously, as we got into camp, it became pretty clear that he was going to be there. That being said, he still didn't have an offseason to improve. His offseason was spent rehabbing. So if there was going to be rust, don't you think it would have came after an offseason of rehab, taking time off in training camp, not really playing during the preseason, and then going into week 1 on the road against the Steelers defense that proved to be pretty good this year?
Yes.
He wasn't. He wasn't rusty at all. And if he's not rusty, the offense isn't going to be rusty. This team has a ton of talent on offense, and the rust factor goes with Brock Purdy. So if Brock Purdy can go a whole offseason and do what he did and come out week 1 and play as well as he did, I have a hard time believing that after a full season of games, that 3 weeks is going to be the kryptonite that slows him and this offense down. I think they're going to be just fine. I would be shocked if they don't score their first drive.
That's what I was thinking about. That's the key. That first drive. Because the Niners really, that sets the tone for them every week. They score on their first drive, I want to say more than any other team. It feels like it. I don't know if that's true. But they score on their first drive a lot. It seems like every game starts 7-0 Niners.
I think every game but one, I want to say they scored their first drive, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So are they going to be able to do that? Not even just Brock, but like collectively as an offense with, after essentially back-to-back buys. Although a lot of the starters did play a little bit against the Rams, which is good, which is why they did it. Again, I expect them to score on their first drive. I kind of expect both teams to score on their first drive. I expect a high-scoring game. Now, I think the only thing that Kyle could mess up here is don't be like overly ambitious on that first drive. That first drive would be great to sort of get Christian McCaffrey established and throw some short passes, and not like what you did against Baltimore where you really wanted to take shot after shot and prove a point. There might be a little bit of rust. So just ease into the game, get everyone confident and in a rhythm, and then take your shots on the second drive. Something like that. But if Kyle handles it right and LaFleur, I have a feeling this could be a high-scoring game. Two really good quarterbacks. I know the Niners have a good defense, but they got shredded by Lamar and Joe Burrow. And this Jordan Love is playing as well as any quarterback in the league right now, unless he's a fraud. I don't think he is.
Yeah, I don't know that he's a fraud. I mean, I think I get Jordan Love's been in the league a few years, but you're watching him start for the first time, and he's doing what most quarterbacks do. Most quarterbacks don't come out the way that Brock Purdy did, or Herbert did, or Mahomes did. The way that those guys started is not normal. Dak Prescott is another one. Most quarterbacks get better their rookie years as the season goes along. And I know this isn't his rookie year, but it essentially is his first year playing. So the fact that he wasn't as good his first 6 or 7 games, and now all of a sudden he's been great these final 10, I would say that he's probably going to be historically a lot closer to these 10 than he was those first 7 or so. Just because you're seeing him improve. He's just playing football. That's what happens when you play. You usually get a little bit better until defenses catch up, and then it's this adjustment game. But I think that he's probably going to be fine going forward.
I think what's interesting about these two quarterbacks, I like comparing them because I think they're really similar. They're in similar offenses. When you ask the Niners what makes Jordan Love really good, they'll all say he protects the football. Only one pick in the last 9 games. That's extremely impressive. And it is. I think the coaches might respect it more than the players. And I think in saying that, they're basically saying he's one hell of a game manager. Our guy, though, is a playmaker, a gunslinger. He takes chances. He throws the ball down the field. It fits into tight windows. That's cool. But I think Kyle Shanahan, does he want a gunslinger or does he want a high-level game manager? I think there's a little bit of longing in his voice when he talks about Jordan Love. Like, man, kind of would like a quarterback who does that. I don't know. I mean, is this game going to come down to which quarterback makes more plays or throws fewer interceptions?
I mean, I would probably say the interceptions, but if one quarterback's going to have to make plays, I would put it more on Love. They're just not as good of a team. Their team is not as good as the 49ers. So Brock Purdy just don't turn the ball over and the 49ers win. I mean, that's what's going to happen. Jordan Love, it's don't turn the ball over, but also you're going to probably have to put the team on your back a little bit for a drive here or there or a big third down or what have you. Brock, just don't mess it up. That's how much better they are. Now, Brock, when you get to the Super Bowl, what I'm saying about Jordan Love is also going to apply to you. It's going to be don't mess it up, but you're also going to have to convert on some big third downs. You're going to have to go and do the gunslinger stuff a little bit. But in this game, you're so much better than Green Bay. There's no reason to go that crazy. There just isn't.
Here's how you can tell that neither team really respects the other quarterback. Their number one goal on defense, their number one defensive game plan goal, stop the run.
Stop the run, yeah.
Stop the run. And both teams will say it. It was interesting. I asked Steve Wilks today, like, how has this offense changed, Matt LaFleur, since Rodgers has left? And Wilks was real clear. I love Wilks. He's very plain spoken. It's like they're committed to the run now. And you understand when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback who can throw 55, 60 times in a game and win, why you would play that way. And I'm like, oh, right, that's a distinction. Someone who can throw 55 or 60 times in a game and win. Brock, I don't know if Brock can do that. I don't know if Jordan Love can do that. Only a handful of quarterbacks in the league can do that. And those are your gunslingers. Those are your playmakers. Those are your music makers, and they are the dreamers of dreams. What's that from?
I have no idea.
Willy Wonka.
Oh,
In the Chocolate
idea.
Factory.
I just saw the new one, by the way. It's like a prequel. Very good movie. It was actually well done.
Okay. I took it there. I'm sorry. Anyway.
Yeah. All right.
If Brock loses, if the Niners lose and Brock throws 2 picks, or if the Niners lose and Brock throws 1 pick and Jordan Love throws none, no one's going to be talking about gunslinger in the offseason. He better be careful. I can't wait for this game. There's going to be so much pressure on both quarterbacks with every single throw. It's going to be crazy.
I don't think there is pressure on Jordan Love. I think that they've already made it everything from here. This is the argument to say why Green Bay could be dangerous. And I think the 49ers win this by 10 points. So I don't think they're necessarily uber dangerous. But when you have a team that has nothing to lose and they can do crazy things like go for it on 4th down or have a trick play or a fake punt, and really nothing matters to them because they're ahead of schedule on this whole rebuild thing they're doing, that's dangerous. Where the 49ers, like, hey, you got to kind of play it tight to the vest, don't turn the ball over, all those things. The 49ers have pressure on them. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to perform, but if one team has pressure, it's absolutely the San Francisco 49ers. They cannot lose this game. They can't. And the Packers, if they win, great. If they lose, okay, no big deal. There's really no pressure on the Packers here.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm expecting a close game. I got into like a whole fight with Rob Guerrero this morning. Not a fight, but an argument about this because he's so certain the Niners. He said the Niners are going to win by 50, and he was exaggerating, but not really. And I just like, man, I don't know about that. To me, talking about if they're going to start slow offensively, this seems like a game that could be very high scoring. Again, we've seen the Niners defense struggle against mobile quarterbacks who can get out of the pocket, extend plays, keep their eyes down the field and make throws. Love can do that. And he has a hell of a running back. He's got 2 tight ends he can throw to and 3 wide receivers. They might score 30. The Niners could too. But
yeah,
I'm expecting that kind of a game. I don't know.
Well, and who do you
has a different idea?
Who do you key in on? Like that was a bit of a problem when they played the Bengals and when they played Minnesota. It was who do you key in on, because
there's no one.
There's a bevy of great weapons in Cincinnati. In Minnesota, their best receiver was out, which meant Addison had to step up, and it was just a bunch of no-name guys, and they were all in and out of the lineup getting hurt. So once you have a quarterback that can distribute the ball and there's not a go-to guy, the best receiver this season on the Packers had 0 catches last week.
There you go.
And they blew out Dallas.
This team is so dangerous, man.
So that makes it interesting.
Names. They're all a bunch of young guys. The whole team is super young, but they didn't seem like what's the drawback of being young in the playoffs? Maybe the stage is too big for you. Wasn't too big for them in Dallas last week. So forget that. Forget the young team. Forget that you don't know who they are. They're producing right now. It's a scary team to face. They're not beating themselves. They're not turning it over. Is their defense vulnerable? Sure.
Yes.
But
very.
So okay, score 35 because you just might have to win this game.
Yeah, they may. I'm not going as crazy as Rob where they're going to win by 50 or anything. I'm very confident in the outcome of this game. Sure. I think the 49ers are the clear better team. There's not like an ounce of me that's worried as a fan, but I also think that if we don't think that Jordan Love is good, or I'll say this, if you believe that Brock Purdy is the future of this franchise, and then you look across the way and say that Jordan Love's not any good, then I think those two things conflict. Whatever you think of Brock, you should think almost as highly about Jordan Love because he's had a fantastic season with less around him. So I would say at least respect Jordan Love. Not that you think that they're going to win, but if you believe the world of Brock, you should probably respect Jordan Love at the very least.
I think the Niners defense is going to have to play one of their best games. Eric Armstead's going to have to be a big factor. Like, I'm not worried about the Niners offense. I'm worried about their defense. It has nothing to do with time off or whatever. I'm worried about the matchup against a mobile quarterback and a really good running back. You guys haven't been good against the run all year. Eric Armstead's coming back to save your bacon. What is his condition? He hasn't played in a while, and he has plantar fasciitis. So, no Cleveland Farrell. Can you stop Aaron Jones? Can you keep Jordan Love in the pocket? Because every time you let these mobile quarterbacks out of the pocket, you lose. You lose. So I want to see that. I don't know.
I think I'm trying to look at their injuries. I think they're relatively healthy. I think Jair's going to play, from what it sounds like. AJ Dillon probably
He's not
won't.
good. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but he's better than their.
Sorry, I just cursed. Give the ball to Aaron Jones a lot.
Oh, for sure, for sure. But if Dillon can get
dropped a hard F.
5 to 7 carries,
Yeah,
I mean, he's got to get held by somebody.
Yeah. I'm not rooting for the Packers, for the record. I expect a close game, and I'm surprised that so many people don't.
Here's what you are rooting for. You're rooting for a little bit of chaos, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If there's chaos and it's close and people freak out, then that's good for you. I get it.
Yeah, I don't want the season to end on Saturday. I would like this to go.
No. Absolutely, you don't. No.
But if it does, I'm ready. Okay, prize picks time. I want to do just running backs this week.
Okay.
You're freaky with it. What do you say?
All right, let's do it.
Okay, let's start. And I don't want to do the goblins and demons. I'm over that. I want to do straight up classic, more or less. And let's start with Christian McCaffrey. 90.5 rushing yards, more or less.
More.
He's going over hundo?
Yeah, the Packers have given up 200 rushing yards or more, I think, in 4 games this year. So, yeah, more.
That's true. Okay, no brainer. Christian McCaffrey with the more. Aaron Jones, 68.5.
More.
He's had more than 100 in 4 games in a row.
They're going to need him. They have 0 shot if that number is less. So it has to be more.
Has to be more. Okay, we're in full agreement to start. Let's stay in the NFC. Rashad White, 56.5 rushing yards.
I'll go more.
Me too. I like him. He's good. Arizona State.
Yeah, he's decent, but they will stick to the run game. And Detroit, I don't really respect their defense either. So,
okay, who do you think's better, David Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs?
I think Jahmyr Gibbs is better, but Montgomery is probably going to have more rushing yards.
All right, let's do both then. Montgomery, 58.5, more or less.
I'll go Montgomery more, Gibbs less.
Oh, explain it to the good people watching the show, your thought process. Show your work.
Yeah, I think Gibbs, first of all, they alternate drives. Montgomery is not the pass catcher that Gibbs is, so it's likely he'll get more carries on the drives that he's in. And Gibbs is a very good pass catcher. And so I think that they'll move him out of the backfield a lot more. And if this was a receiving stat or a combined stat, I would take the more, but I'll go less on the actual rushing yards.
Okay, I think we might be done with the NFC guys. So if you see anyone you like, shout them out. James Cook, Pacheco, Devin Singletary.
Oh, what is Cook? What's his
62.5?
Man, Chiefs defense is pretty good, but Cook has been on a roll. I'm going to go more on Cook. I like that one too.
More?
Let's do that one. Yeah.
All right, let's lock it in. I'm trying to win 12 hundo plus Christian McCaffrey more. Duh. Aaron Jones more. Yeah. Rashad White. I like him more. Dave Montgomery more. Jahmyr Gibbs fewer. And James Cook more. I'm a big Jahmyr Gibbs fan. I think he's really good.
I think he's very good. Detroit in the NFC Championship, which is likely going to be the matchup with the 49ers, that's going to be a fun game. Very fun game. I think that that one could get interesting just because their running game and their offensive line is very, very good.
All right, let's lock it in. You guys want to play? Use promo code Cohn, COHN. Get 100% deposit match up to $100. That's free money. Go play. The thing that's interesting about the Lions to me is Just the fact that they have Jared Goff. If they had
Jared-
anyone else, I'd be like,
Goff.
oh man, that team, watch out for them. But it's Goff. Just
Yeah,
like how I
if
feel
they
about
had
Dak.
if they
Like,
had Matthew Stafford, oh my gosh.
or I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, if they just had, yeah, if they had Stafford. How many teams? My friend texted me this the other day. How many teams could you put Stafford on now, and would they be like instant contenders or favorites? A lot of teams.
Yeah.
Put him in Seattle.
Put him
Put him
in
on the
Tampa.
Jets. Put him in Tampa. Put him in Tennessee. He's good.
He's
Anyway,
very good. He's very good.
okay, let's move on. Move on. We can't linger over
No.
Stafford. We have to talk about Steve Young interviewed Brock Purdy for 49ers.com. I thought Steve did a great job. He's a really good interviewer.
It was a very, very good interview. He did a great job.
Yeah, about 25 minutes. What were your major takeaways from this interview?
I had three takeaways that I had that one of them is just a personal one. It's kind of why I identify with Brock is just through his faith. And Brock is not afraid to share his faith. Any interview he ever does where it's a sit down interview, he will talk about it. And I respect that. I love that about him. So that was just a personal point.
And it resonated with
Whether it
Steve,
means
right?
anything,
It was like,
100%.
I always feel like that was my superpower. I always feel like that was so grounding, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that because what I find interesting about Brock is as a person, because of his faith, he knows exactly who he is. And he said something where it was, hey, I don't need this essentially. If I lost it tomorrow, God would give me a new mission. I'm fine with that. But as a player, I feel like he's got a conflict in who he is. So as a person, he knows exactly who he is. But as a player, I think he's conflicted internally because he talks about how in college and in high school, he was forced to be that guy. And you see it show up all over his film. Talked about it a million times when he was a rookie. Like, hey, he has some Jimmy moments. You see it all over his college film. That's my biggest concern. And he recognizes that. Yes, I would put the ball in harm's way. I felt like I had to go win games. Now I'm on a team where I don't have to do that. But you can tell he struggles with that because he is the gunslinger. He does feel like that's his innate ability and that's a part of who he is, but he has to kind of control that. It's almost like the Incredible Hulk, right? You can't turn green. You can't get mad. You have to control the anger. Otherwise, you turn into the Hulk. And that's what he is as a football player. He has to suppress his gunslinger mindset and try to play within the system that Kyle wants him to play within with this bevy of talent. And that's what will make him most successful. So those are two things for me. I've got another one, but I'll save them just in case. I don't.
No, you keep going. I'm listening. I'm loving this.
Okay. And I've got one more. He talked about how Kyle showed belief in him. And that meant the world to him, he said. And the reason I bring this up is because this was something that we talked about in the offseason. I remember saying that if the 49ers truly believe he's the franchise guy, you have to get rid of Trey Lance. Just like I thought if they felt Trey Lance was the franchise guy, they should have gotten rid of Jimmy. And when you say things like that, you always get the rebuttal of, well, these are professionals. They're getting paid millions. They should perform no matter what. And my retort back to that is, well, they're also human beings. And when he says, hey, he showed faith in me, that meant the world to me. That gave me the confidence to be the player that I am. That right there shows the human element. All of these guys need a coach that can believe in them and buy into them. And if they don't, the chances of being successful are a lot lower. Brock has that with Shanahan. I think that's great. We see it with Shanahan. We've talked about it all throughout the season. But for Brock, that was very, very important that he got that buy-in from Shanahan and it allowed him to be who he is. And I think that was fantastic.
Yeah, having them sit there across from each other kind of dawned on me a little bit that Purdy's kind of like Steve, not Joe. I mean, they're both men of faith and they both probably care a little too much. Like Joe could just let things go and be great at the end. Whereas I remember Steve would press. Steve would be very amped up. And Brock, we don't see it very much because he's always winning. But when he has been in tough situations early in games when he's not winning, we've seen him press. He's admitted to pressing, and Kyle says he cares too much, which is better than not caring enough. So I think that's kind of interesting in them. And you heard Steve say, like, man, you're just so unbothered. You're so unaffected. And I was thinking, I don't know. Like, he has to prove that now. We'll find out about that right now. And I think that's what's so cool about Brock Purdy's story. It's just about the greatest story of all time. But without that Super Bowl ring to validate it, he's not Kurt Warner. And he has to get it now. I mean, he doesn't have to get it now, but he's on the precipice of getting it right now. And we've already crowned him. You have Steve Young interviewing him himself, but he hasn't done it yet. That being said, it took Steve a while too, right?
Yeah, here's the thing. When people say that they read mean things about them or things that they don't deem as true and they're unbothered by it, I disagree with that. I think you either don't read it, you don't put yourself in the situation to read it and be in front of it. And of course you're not bothered because you don't even hear the noise. Or you start scrolling through the comments and you're reading everything and it is bothering you. You're human. Like, that's a human trait. You're going to be perturbed a little bit. And one thing I found interesting, and of course, when he's out there in front of you guys, it's, I don't hear any of that. I don't see any of that. Reality is he admitted to that he does hear those things. And so, yeah, of course he's going to be bothered. Right. Now, I'm not saying it takes away from his performance.
Didn't he say that one of the big learning experiences for him this year was how to tune that out?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't he say that? I mean, I think what he said with the Ravens game was it was built up too much.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know.
Well, he talked about pressure, and Steve kept like, oh, you're just so great and you're ironclad. And he's like, well, there have been times where the moment's been too big for me. Like,
I love that about Brock. When he
I love that about I love that about him.
Because you could be like, yeah, I am that good. But he's like, whoa, dude. Like,
no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm human, man. I'm human. If it would be concerning if there was never a moment that was too big for you. That's how you learn to perform in those moments, is by kind of shattering a little bit and learning from that. It's all a learning experience. So whether that's in the pros or high school or middle, whatever that is, there's some time in your life where you've been rejected or things didn't go the way that you had planned, and you had to build yourself back up from that. And those are all learning experiences. And I love that he didn't just act as if, oh, no, I've always been built like this. I've never cared. It's like, well, actually, the moment has been too big for me, Steve. I'm going to push back a little bit. And I've learned from that. And that's what allows me to be the player that I am today. So I love the honesty from him.
He said one other thing that really got me. This was a good interview. Steve, I got to give you credit, man. He said, how did you know when you really won over the team? And Brock got into it. And one of the things he mentioned was, once they saw I wasn't afraid to fail, they bought in. And it's such an interesting thing to say. Made me think of Trey, who may have been a little afraid to fail. A little afraid to pull the trigger.
Oh, yeah.
A little afraid to make a mistake. Got to be perfect. Whereas Brock comes in and has nothing to lose. Maybe that was one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because you talk about nothing to lose, and I'm going to draw the parallel back to this game where we're at today. The Packers are Brock Purdy a year ago, coming into that Miami game, where it's you can play as free as possible, because Brock Purdy didn't have anybody lingering over his shoulder. Who was there? There was nobody. Trey was done for the season. Jimmy was done for the season. It was you and no other option. So, I mean, you can play as free as you want. And now you're looking at a Packers team that's a whole team full of Brock Purdy's at this point. They're the youngest team in the league. They've already made it further than they were supposed to. No pressure on them. And the interesting paradox is now Brock Purdy is what Trey Lance was, where all the pressure is on the world. Because when you went out last year, the team thought they would have won the Super Bowl if you had stayed healthy. They definitely believe that now. The path is clearer than it's ever been. Now, again, it doesn't mean he's not going to perform, but the pressure is certainly there, and it will be felt.
Here's why I'm very concerned about Brock Purdy this time around in the playoffs. As you said last year, he was the 49ers' only hope. There's no one really behind him. This year, they have the second coming of Steve Young. I mean, we saw Steve Young interviewing him. Steve Young Jr. is on the bench. So, Brock, you have one bad quarter, watch out.
Steve Young Jr. is on the bench, and it's
Watch
Sam
out.
Darnold. You're right. You're absolutely right about that. No, listen, I think that's what is probably Brock's best strength to his game is his mental fortitude. I really believe that. Doesn't mean he can't get rattled. I think that he showed a little bit during that Ravens game where he was pressed, but I think that it's going to take a lot to get him to that moment. And I don't think that the playoffs this time around, even if there is more pressure, are going to be too much for him to handle. I think
I got a stat for you.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy has thrown no touchdown passes in back-to-back playoff games.
Oh, wow.
I think he's going to play really well in this game.
Well
I
done.
think both him and
But next
Love are
game,
going to light it
no
up.
way he's going to throw any touchdown passes
I
because
think
it's
they're both
never
gonna light it
happened.
up. I think it's going to be one of the best games. I think all these games are going to be really good. I'm excited. And what's one thing that's cool about Brock? Of all the quarterbacks that are remaining, he's the only one that wasn't a first-round pick, which makes me feel like finding the next Brock Purdy is not going to happen. The Niners got so lucky. He should have been a first-round pick, even with his arm strength, deficit. So yeah, good for them.
The best game of the weekend is the Bills and the Chiefs. Like that's just as an outside fan, if you're not a fan of any of the teams remaining and you just want to watch football, but you could only choose one, that would be the game. Josh
Houston,
Allen, Patrick
Baltimore is
Mahomes.
going to be good too, though.
Well, next week, yeah.
So good.
Oh, yeah, the Houston. Yeah, is it though? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we're selling. I really think that we're selling Baltimore short, man. I really. Did you see Lamar Jackson when he was asked about the 20 points? Did you see that? The way he reacted? He laughed. They're like, how confident are you? The offense has never scored more than 20 in the playoffs with you at the helm. How confident are you that you're going to score 20? And he just got this big grin on his face. He's like, confident, very confident, extremely confident. And then he just starts laughing.
I think he's going to do great. I think Stroud is going to do really well too.
Oh, Stroud's phenomenal. Stroud is he's on his way to being a superstar for sure. We'll see if he can, if he loses offensive coordinator, what that looks like. Once the defense has a year to catch up, but he has all the makings to be elite in this league for sure.
The only game that won't have like top level quarterback play is Detroit, Tampa, and those two guys are good too. I mean, I like Baker and Goff; they're not bad,
but they're even. Like it's an even quarterback matchup. So yeah, I enjoy it.
Tampa winning it, although I don't expect them to. But not enough. Sauce says what playoff teams are playing with house money right now.
Oh, easily Houston and Green Bay. Houston, Green Bay, Tampa. Tampa had like 60 million in cap that was just carryover from previous years that they had to go through. So those three teams. Yeah, those are the three teams.
Too much sauce says RIP to Warriors assistant coach. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Dejan.
I did see a blurb that he had passed though. Yeah.
Rest in peace. Sorry to hear that. He was with the Warriors. I heard he was 46. That's tragic.
So young.
Niners Dodgers says, fun fact, if the Niners win on Saturday, they will tie with the Patriots for most wins in playoff history. Go Niners.
Yeah, I feel like that's been lingering for a while. Yeah. Well, Tom Brady. I mean, come on, man.
I know. Well, it's good to take that back. Official BNA Music 88 says Niners on 47.5 on third down. GB is 47.1. Completion conversion percentage?
Is that against the defense? I don't know. Not sure.
I'll look it up, but that's interesting. The Dark Knight. A Grant, can you ask Rob Stats if he's concerned? I forget what that bit was about, but I started going on a riff about concerned. I like that show. because he gets flustered, and then I just can't stop. It's really a lot of fun.
You guys are very fun to watch together because he's a total fan and he's not afraid to show it, and you're not, and it's a great dichotomy. I love it.
The best is that we do this show, and I'll like, well, you know how it goes. You meet up 5 minutes early. Usually, you don't, but usually people meet up like 5 minutes early, and you like shoot the breeze for a little bit. How you doing? So me and Stats like, hey man, how you doing? How's it going? Good time. We start the show. We just start yelling at each other. And the show's over. Hey, great show, man. That was great. I'll see you next week. All right, man. I'll see you next week.
That's awesome. Yeah, I roll in. It's like 9 o'clock. I'm rolling in at 8:59. Like, let's go.
Yeah, I love that. We just go, yo, ready to go. All right. Abu Marco 23. Is it fair to say it's the first time Kyle and the Niners have true first seed pressure? 2019 upstart, 2021 barely qualified, 2022 Eagles. Interesting. Yeah, that's a different type of pressure, right? You're the best team. You're like the senior team in the NFC. Take care of business. We've seen teams fall flat a lot of times. So
yeah, luckily for them, the NFC is about as weak as it could be right now. So
as weak as it could be.
Okay. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the 7th seed in the NFC happened to be the second best team in the conference. You could say it's Detroit, but Green Bay beat Detroit on Thanksgiving in Detroit.
It's true.
So I don't know. They also lost to Tampa a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of Green Bay.
Gave up a ton of points to Carolina. So I don't know.
Moises Rosales says highest and lowest point in your journalism career.
Oh, this is deep.
Wow. Highest point was today. I don't know. Every day. I enjoy. Good time. Maybe interviewing Jimmy Ward. That was phenomenal. Did great time. Lowest point, probably getting into the Javon Kinlaw thing. It's probably the lowest point. Those are two data points. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
808 Niner. What the hell is going on? I'm all for respecting Green Bay, but come on, they're 9-8. They lost to the Giants and Bucks before beating Carolina, Minnesota, and Chicago. They're the only team to make Bryce Young look like a decent quarterback. That's fair.
Oh yeah. No, I picked the 49ers to win by 10 points, so I'm not that worried about it, but
I'm also picking the Niners to win the game. I think it'll be a little bit closer than that. They did just eviscerate the Cowboys, who are, as Niner fans know, utter and complete frauds. But they did beat Green Bay. They beat Detroit and they beat Kansas City not that long ago. So I think it's fair to want. They're a very young team. And I think it's clear they may not be as consistent as the 49ers. But on certain weeks,
I think young teams are inconsistent, and you don't know what you're going to get. If you get the team that showed up against Carolina or Tampa, then you're probably going to win going away. But if you get the team that showed up against the Chiefs or this last week, you're going to have a tight game. So really, it's on the Packers. You don't know which team is going to show up. We don't know, and they are very inconsistent because they are young. So if the best version shows up, this game's going to be tight.
Yeah, it's true. They don't commit a bunch of turnovers. Chris Tallarico, LOL, I'm late. I saw the stream title and thought we traveled back to 2020. Please tell me the title is a copy-paste mistake. No, we haven't talked about that yet, though, so don't worry about it. We saved that for the end because we know people really wanted to know. Keith Murphy, the Unbeaten, says, Grant, stop trolling Rob in the morning. Only do it once a week, and in my defense, it's the afternoon for him. He's on the East Coast, so he's ready.
Perfect.
Chris Tallarico says, I can't watch you and Rob unless it's right after a payday. I enjoyed the show at Rob today. All right. Go ahead.
No, nothing.
No, with the Kyle Shanahan, Tom Brady thing, would you tell people what Nick Wagner reported?
Yeah, it was kind of a throwaway thing. I don't know how it didn't get picked up or made a bigger deal. I guess it doesn't matter as much now, but I did find it interesting that Kyle told Brock that this starting job is yours this season as long as we don't get Tom Brady. And Brock knew that. So as long as Tom Brady wasn't coming to San Francisco, he was going to be the starter. But if Tom Brady came, then Tom Brady would have started. So they did put out feelers to Tom Brady this offseason. Obviously, he decided that it's time to officially retire. which is the right move, by the way. Watching Tom Brady early on last year, he had everything, but towards the tail end of last year, he was truly afraid to get hit. He just was unwilling to get hit, and that became clear. And when he talked about retiring, he said that I just don't want to get hit anymore, and that showed up on film week in and week out. Even though the numbers were great and he could still make all the throws, it wasn't that he had diminished there, but mentally he didn't want to get hit. So I think it's probably
I've never wanted to get hit. I just wanted to
no, for sure.
So
But you didn't want to be a quarterback either.
I don't want to get hit.
Yeah. So but that was interesting because there was definitely some speculation at some point. But if Tom Brady was willing to play again and come to the 49ers, he would have been your starter this year. I find that interesting. I find that very interesting.
The Niners really need to hold on to Brock Purdy for a very long time because Kyle is clueless.
I was just going to say,
give Brock Purdy a lifetime contract, man. Because the idea of trying to find another quarterback, you didn't even find Brock. You stepped on Brock. Oh my God, what is that? Oh, it's our starting quarterback for the next 10 years. Sorry about that, little buddy. You're great. No, but we're going to push you with Sam Darnold. Hey, we're going to bring in Tom Brady 3 years too late. Kyle, God love you. I'm not any better.
Just going to say, it's tough. His evaluation of Tom Brady couldn't have been more wrong twice. When you should have brought him in and you had Jimmy Garoppolo here, you're like, we think Jimmy can be marginally better next year, probably. So we're going to go with that.
Brady's washed, immediately wins a Super Bowl.
Yeah, right. Then Brady is actually washed as far as Tom Brady goes. And you have an actual good quarterback who's clearly better than Jimmy. And you're like, yeah, well, you're going to start unless Tom's willing to come here. It's like, wow, could you messed up the evaluation going both ways. Thank God, at least the second time it didn't go the way that you wanted it to go, which was bringing in Tom Brady. That would have been crazy.
Yeah. You understand why, though, in retrospect, the injury, the surgery, you didn't know what he was going to be. There was a possibility he would miss time. There were all these different timelines. He didn't get the surgery right away. It was unclear what was going to happen. They felt stupid for not bringing in Tom Brady the first time. You could see them maybe talking themselves into it in a moment of desperation. Fortunately, they didn't, or maybe Tom Brady made the decision for them. Don't know. But it seems like it's worked out. But again, they haven't won a playoff game yet. I just want to remind people that they have not won a playoff game yet this year. And I know we're all talking about how special this team is and how it's the best team since 1994. And dude, if they lose on Saturday, you guys are going to have nothing but bad feelings about this team forever.
It'll be awful.
It'll be awful. I just want to impress upon you what's at stake. That's what I love about the NFL so much. It's just so urgent. Oh, you think you're one of the greatest teams of all time? Okay, well, all you got to do is win 3 games. But if you lose 1, that's it. It's over. Sorry. You had a bad day. It was rainy. Sorry. Well,
the 49ers haven't won a game yet in the playoffs, but the fans won 3 times this weekend watching the Eagles lose, the Rams lose, and Dallas lose. I don't know that the weekend could have been any better to be a 49er fan on a week that your team didn't play. So there is that.
Nick Sirianni used to have all this bravado, and now every time they cut to him on the sideline, he looks, frankly, like dorkier and dorkier. He just looks like he's got nothing.
The 49er fans also won twice today. The Eagles and the Cowboys are keeping their coaches. Riddle me that.
Why?
Why? No clue. I have
running it back for the sake of it. Why would they do that?
I have no idea. If I'm the Eagles, I'm getting Bill Belichick immediately.
Does anyone respect Nick Sirianni anymore? The issue with him is a lack of respect for him. I don't know. Mike McCarthy?
The Cowboys said they're keeping McCarthy. The Eagles, Roseman and Sirianni have been searching for an offensive coordinator, supposedly, since the season ended. So I assume that means they're keeping him.
Hey, instead of hiring an offensive coordinator, fire Sirianni and hire someone who can run the offense. Like, what does Sirianni do? Why do you need him?
No idea. No, like Dan Campbell is a CEO coach, but you see the impact he has on that team. They go exactly how he goes, and all those gutsy decisions, good or bad, are his. See, I don't know what Sirianni does. I genuinely have no idea. Shane Steichen was incredible. That's all I know. I don't know what Sirianni is or does. But hey, I'm not an Eagles fan, so let him stay there. That's great.
Don't you get the sense that the players are really proud of Dan Campbell?
Oh,
and
yeah.
he kind of sets the tone or the personality of the team. I don't get the feeling that the Eagles are proud of Nick Sirianni. I mean, I think they seem like they're kind of embarrassed by him. Kind of being, maybe I didn't need that. Maybe I could have taken that out. Just used embarrassed alone.
Yeah, embarrassed like a middle school kid getting dropped off by their mom that wants to kiss him on the forehead in front of all their friends. That's how embarrassed they are of him. Yes, it's bad,
dude. Like, you're not playing. You're not tough. What are you doing? Dan Campbell played. Dan Campbell's tough, dude. You. What are you mugging for the cameras for, man? Call a play. Oh, you don't do that
at all.
That's why you're mugging, because you don't actually do anything. It's you and Big Dom. You're Little Dom.
So bad.
Well, all right. Joshua Bourne, good to see you guys again. Feel like we made Tom Brady more motivated when he was with Tampa.
Yeah, probably.
That was for Jed. That was for Kyle.
Probably.
All right. I'm going to wrap this one up early like Rob did. He just shut it down early on me today. He was like, you know what, Grant? I'm not enjoying your presence. Dismissed.
And you're dismissed.
Wow. Dismissed. Anyway, are you doing a Behind Enemy Lines right now?
I am, yeah. 5 minutes. Come over to Last Second Sports, Behind Enemy Lines. I've got a Packers content creator on. This should be really, really good. I'm looking forward to this.
What's his name? Where's he from?
Where's he from? You're gonna have to come over to the show. It's the teaser.
I like that. Yeah, that was a trick question. Go check it out for yourself. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. At the buzzer, Brother Bob says, Eagles straight trash, Big Dumb should coach. Yeah.
Big Dumb, nice. Nice, Brother Bob. Nice.
Over to Last Second Sports right now. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be back in the morning with the coach.